So before I get started, I want to give a shout out to Jungle Asian Garage. He made some Dodge Charger taillights. And also shout out to $1 Billion Kylie. She actually followed my heart DIY. And also Yev, because he said I would never be able to make LED taillights. And today here, I'll show you guys how to make some LED taillights. Alright guys, I'm going to show you guys how to cut these out. I'm going to use a hot knife. You can use a Dremel in the backside. But before I get started, I'm going to explain to you guys that if you guys have the coupes, if you get the Altezza ones, it's really easy. You can just cut this section out, and this section, and also this section out. And you can just stick a board in there. To get it to bend with the curve, you can heat up the board and it should bend. The reason why these stock ones won't look as good as the Altezzas is because the diffusion in it is not equal all the way through. Like if you put a board through here and then this section will be clear like the LEDs here, but then it'll be diffused again here. So I don't recommend doing that if you're gonna do some LEDs, but if you do buy the aftermarket ones, that's what I would suggest doing. And it seems like a lot of people like to modify these stock housing ones. It's because you can put them in the oven and the lenses come off once you remove these little bolts in the back. And I've noticed that people in America don't like doing the 50-50 ones because the spacing inside is actually smaller than the OEM for some weird reason. And yeah, so a lot of modification LEDs, you notice that a lot of people just like to use the stock ones. But today I'm going to show you guys how to do it with the 50-50s. Oh yeah, and since I'm doing with a hot knife or a Dremel, it usually melts the plastic. It smells really bad, so I'm going to use my painter's mask. And yeah, so I would suggest you guys doing this outside where there's air flowing and stuff, because that stuff smells really bad. It's probably really bad for you in general. So let's get started.
To you live from Atlanta, Georgia, with the legendary
reminisce. Watch me, put my good foot forward. Watch me, I'm about to put my good foot forward. Watch me, put my good foot forward. Watch me, I'm taking it easy, easy like the very first time. I was told I better watch my step. And when I walk, I'ma watch my step. I'm taking it easy.
That's what it looks like. That's what this looks like. The hardest part, well, two hardest parts. The hardest part was this side. The spacing in front of the lens is about 1/4 of an inch, so you gotta go protrude at an angle and then pull up to be able to cut it out. And when you're done with that and you're finally cut all the way through, the center section right here and over here is connected to the front lens still. So you have to have a clean crack at it. You have to be careful, and like when you're protruding with the hot gun or Dremel, when you're cutting it through, make sure you direct it which way you want. So when you pop it off, it cuts cleanly. So you can see it right here. It's clean. And over here, it's clean also. A lot of people don't notice it when you put the LEDs in, but having it clean is actually easier to line it up. Like that, see? And one over here. So yeah. And once you turn the lights on, won't even notice it. I've seen a lot of people who modify houses and stuff cut all the way through. But for the reason that I didn't and I left these attached to the lens, is for the mere fact that I drift and I drive pretty hard. And if my friends ever hit me in the quarter or something, I want one of these to still be intact and still be bolted down. So let's say I drifted and my quarter panel got pushed in or something. At least this point will still hold the lens, even though the back housing might be cracked in half and whatnot. That's the, yeah, so that's like the reason why I have it like that. So after trimming a piece of cardboard down, I got to fit inside the turn signal. I'm gonna go ahead and do the top one too. But probably not all the way on top. This is what it looks like. That's what it is. So we're gonna go ahead and use this template and then trace on top of a PCB board and then cut it out. Long enough, so I'm going to super glue these two together right here. Template. And after that, either paint it black or silver. I have not decided yet. So after looking at my old housing, I realized I don't have this section because it's so tight in there that the board itself barely fits snug. So if you're soldering all the way to the edge, I suggest you just cut this section out, and then what you can do is you can re-glue it on there, reseal it on there if you want, or just put something over it to cover it up. And also I decided to go black PCB. So I'm going to go ahead and figure out a design and start soldering the LEDs together. You guys always message me and ask me to do 3 hearts, so today I'm going to do that. And then I'm probably going to add an additional brake LED at the bottom and call it good. I think for brakes I'm going to do smaller hearts because I'll save LEDs, and also the board is like kind of an angle in this tail light. I'll trim down here still, but yeah, just in case it's a little off, I don't want to have a crooked line as a brake, so I'll do a few baby hearts and call it good. So my buddy noticed I was making heart heart taillights, and he requested I make some coupe ones, so I started working on it too. And I'll go ahead and show you the finished product at the end after I show you the hatch taillights. But here's a video of me modifying the 50/50 coupe taillights. So I finally finished up soldering all the boards, all the taillights, and all we got to do left is seal it up with this. I'm just going to apply it along the edge. And also, these plug wires changed. Red is now daylight running, white is brake, black is ground. So if you guys do order it, that's what it is. Also the board inside here, it's a little loose. So I'm just gonna go ahead and seal it up with this, which is it's for like winter. You put it under your door to protect heat out or heat in, and then cold out and stuff like that. So it's pretty cheap. And also after that, when I'm done sealing it up, I'm gonna use this. Basically, what this is also for window seal, I believe. And I'm gonna add it around this edge here because there's going to be a gap from the board pushing against the housing. Alright, so now we are ready to go ahead and seal it. Just make sure it's aligned correctly on both sides. And before you seal it all up, make sure you go through and look for if there's any dirt specks in here or sitting down here, and we'll take it out with microfiber rag. And after that, I'm going to have 8-pound weights. I'm going to put on the back side while the lens is facing down, and then I'm going to seal it up, having the weights hold the position of the lenses in place. And I'll let it dry, and it should be done. So usually I would use my thumb and smear it, but there's no gloves because of COVID-19. They all donated to the hospital, so I'm not going to do it this time. Well, since we're waiting for the housings to dry and seal up, I want to talk about these load resistors. Basically, when you run LED anything and you have fast, quick turn signals, you need to run this between the power wire to the signal and then the ground wire to the signal. Therefore, it creates a load, so it pretends to be a halogen bulb. The downside to this is it gets really hot and it could melt your housing if you mount it to something plastic. So I would suggest you guys to cut a piece of metal out and have it sit on top of a metal. Therefore, it won't melt anything. So this is the coupe taillights I made for Kenny. Looks pretty good. Yeah. Sick. So you might be wondering, why did I make heart taillights? Well, it's because I wanted to get girls to come talk to me about my car instead of dudes, because before I had the taillights, I only had guys come talk to me. So eventually I was like, you know what, I'm gonna add some hearts to it. All the K-pop girls are gonna come after me and it's gonna be awesome. Of course that did not happen and only attracted more dudes. So that sucks. Honestly, it doesn't look that bad, but I prefer the moon style one. My original style. Yeah. So whoever told me that the 3 regular spread out evenly is better than the moon style, which if you Google moon 180SX, you'll see what I mean. It's that black hatch with the VSKFs. That's where I got this idea from. It's way better than the 3. Well, let's see it from here. Anyway, this is the gap I was talking about. We're gonna go ahead and apply that seal onto it to fill it in. Kind of like over here, how I filled it over here. And yeah. tested this one, and the plugs are not consistent. Red might be brake or daylight, and yellow might be brake or daylight. So I go ahead and just flip them out, and I'm gonna do that real quick to get it to be daylight, because the colors are exactly the same. They're both red and red is supposed to be brake, and yellow is supposed to be, or red and red is supposed to be daylight running, and yellow is supposed to be brake. But when you buy them, they're not consistent. So just take that into consideration. At least ground is ground, so not too bad on the 1157 plug. Alright, went ahead and fixed that issue. It's kind of weird, but yeah, the plugs are not consistent. It's kind of frustrating, but it is what it is. So be wary if you buy 1157. The colors don't mean anything, just test it if it's brake or daylight running before you finalize and solder it or crimp it, whatever you guys were doing. Well, hopefully this will help you guys out, figure out how to cut the 50/50 housings out, and do some LED stuff and have your own design and stuff like that. The reason why I show you guys how to do this is because I've been there where, as a driver, I had something unique on my car, something very expensive, and I hold myself back from my driving. And being able to learn how to fix things and make things makes me more comfortable driving harder, because all these things that are unique are replaceable, and I used to be really hesitant on driving. So hopefully this videos will help you make your car unique and understand how to make it yourself and drive harder, because if you wreck, you can fix it, you can make another one. And see you guys next time. Peace.